Why have they locked me away? I just want to torture people. What's wrong with that? I just want to watch them cry and bleed. I just want to see them in pain. I just want them to hurt. I just want them to suffer. I just want them to scream. I just want them to die. What's wrong with that? Join me as I share with you 5 true horror stories of the criminally insane. When I was in high school, you could say I had some mental issues. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I was depressed all the time and thought about killing myself regularly. My parents had me go off to a psychiatric institution for boys. I made friends with boys who were like me. They had similar problems and understood where I was coming from. This one day, a new boy arrived on our block. We all knew very quickly that he was a very special case. On his first day, he attacked another boy with a plastic spoon he had broken. He was put into private isolation where he received counseling every day, as well as massages to try to keep him calm. At some point, he was free to be around the rest of the boys again, and on the day he was first allowed to join us, he came up behind me when I was drawing and bit the back of my neck. I don't mean he gave me a nibble either. I was rushed to the nurse's station and had to get 23 stitches. I was released from the institution before this boy was, and every day I was there with him, I was terrified. He would look at me often with a hatred in his eyes. All he wanted to do was hurt me and every other boy there. I have no idea what became of him. People turn absolutely crazy and creepy as hell when they get really sick. There's even a term called ICU psychosis, and trust me, it's real. The creepiest experience that takes the cake for me is this. I'm an ICU nurse, and I had a patient who was admitted for overdose. Very long history of mental health problems. She was thrashing around in bed, very combative, totally incoherent. The night that I had her, she started making decent sense, but still not oriented at all. She was extremely paranoid and kept talking about the man in black in the corner of her room. I'd hear her talking to him and screaming all night long. So I'd go in there and try to calm her down, but you could see the fear in her eyes. She was talking other nonsense about how she was in space and shit. And with certain patients, you try to redirect their reality, but what I did didn't help. She said, "That man in black, don't you see him?" and pointed to the corner of the room. I said, "There's nobody here." I stepped into the corner she was pointing to and waved my hands around. While I'm waving my hands around in the air, she had the most horrifically terrified look on her face that actually scared the shit out of me, like I had just assaulted the man in black. I said, "See, there's nobody here." And she said, in a matter-of-factly kind of way, "That's what you think." I promptly left the room. My mom told me this story from her time at a neuropsychiatric ward while she was in grad school. She was making her routine room checks and happened upon the most horrific scene I've ever heard of. This was during the night shift, and generally all the patients' bedroom doors should be closed. So my mom turned a corner and noticed an open door. She saw a staff member's legs on the floor, halfway sticking out the door. When she looked into the room, she saw the patient A woman with a severe postpartum psychiatric disorder who had just gouged both of her own eyes out with her bare hands. She was sitting cross-legged on the floor, holding her eyes in her hands. The first staff member to witness the scene, who was now laying face down on the floor, had a heart attack when he first witnessed the woman while he was making his rounds. My mom screamed for help and frantically tried to perform CPR on the staff member. All the while, the woman just sat rather calmly, holding her own eyes. My father remarried when I was 7 years old. My new stepmother had 3 kids. The youngest, a boy, was just a baby. Her oldest was also a boy, and he was a very nice kid. He was 2 years older than me. Her middle child was my age, and she was a girl. This girl, we'll call her Amy, was extremely troubled. She was a very, very mean child. When we first moved in with them, I would wake up in the middle of the night, and Amy would sometimes be there in the doorway to my room, watching me. I'm not exaggerating. She actually did this, and my dad flipped out when I told him. Amy stopped doing it after she got in trouble, but after a few weeks, one night, I woke up to unbelievable pain. Amy had pushed a thumbtack into my forehead. I screamed and cried, and my dad and Amy's mom came running into the room. Amy got in trouble, of course, but not like she should have. My parents were in denial and figured she was just mad at me, but I told them there was something wrong with her and that nothing had happened and she had no reason to be mad at me and to do something like this. I could tell that my dad knew there was something more that was wrong. I tried telling my dad I thought she should go to a hospital, but at my age, I didn't really know what they were called, just a hospital for people with problems. We lived down a dirt road, and during the weekends, sometimes I was forced to play with Amy. I constantly told her to stop staring at me and to not come near me. I was living in hell. This little girl was crazy. All she talked about was becoming a doctor so she could do surgery, but maybe not good surgery, as she put it. She said it would be fun to cut people's bodies open and fill their cavities and arteries with broken glass and nails. To say I was scared of her would be an understatement. One day, I was playing in my room when she told me to come with her. She wanted to show me something. I followed her down to the creek by our house, and when I got there, I almost fainted. She had brutally killed a bunch of ducks. I ran home and cried. She told me that if I told anybody, she would stick thumbtacks into my head again. My dad and her mom eventually got divorced a couple years later, and it's been many years now. About 5 years ago, I saw on her mom's social media account that she was committed to a mental institution. Surprise, surprise. My mom worked in mental institutions in her younger years, and actually worked at a large, well-known asylum before it was shut down. There was one woman there that thought she was a vampire of sorts. She was only allowed out 1 hour a day, and they had to use safety precautions. She had already attacked and killed at least one hospital worker before these rules were enacted. When my mom asked about her, it was revealed that she had killed at least 2 of her children, as well as her husband, because she had some sort of physical condition called porphyria, which apparently made her crave blood. By the time that they discovered there was something seriously, physically wrong with her, she already had lost her mind from guilt and grief. I really hope you enjoyed these stories. Do you want more being scared more often? Then please click the link on screen to visit my Patreon page to learn how you can make that happen. Please remember to like the video and share it with more people that you know enjoy being scared.